So the Democratic senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, finally got his wish and met with a so-called mistakenly deported MS13 gang member in El Salvador. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Democratic senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, meeting with the so-called mistakenly deported MS13 gang member who was living in Maryland but is from El Salvador by the name of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, this was a really crazy thing. I don't understand why you would fly to El Salvador unannounced and try to spring a gang member from prison and bring them back to the USA. And let's be clear, this man is a citizen of El Salvador and he's not a citizen of the USA. Now, the whole thing here is that it's a political football. People say that this guy was mistakenly deported. That's not really true. The only thing was some kind of clerical issue. A judge back in 2024 recommended that this guy not be deported back to El Salvador because he would face retribution from gangs. Now, I wonder why a guy would face retribution from gangs. Is it because he's a church boy and didn't do anything wrong? Or is it because he's a gang member? Now, before I go any further into it, y'all know I got facts. I'm going to bring the facts all day long. This is from the DHS website, government website. Again, y'all know how I do. I will link to this article, my videos, sources, everything in the description box. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But you see what it says right here. The real story, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an MS13 gang member with a history of violence. So, first things first, when Garcia was arrested, he was found with rolls of cash and drugs. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see it, okay? That's him right there. And number two, he was arrested with two other members of MS13, and there's the documentation right there. There it is. I'll zoom through it, but again, it'll be in the box. Number three, when arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money covering the ears, mouth, and eyes of presidents on various currency denominations. This is a known MS13 gang symbol of see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil. Again, we got evidence right here. This is the DHS website. I'm just reading it for you. Number four, two judges found that he was a member of MS13. That finding has not been disturbed. So when they say, oh, how do you know his member MS13? The documentation is right here. Number five, intelligence reports found that he was involved in human trafficking. Right here in Tennessee, he got caught doing that. I saw that on the news locally. Number six, he is an illegal alien from El Salvador. Number seven, he claimed fear for being returned to El Salvador because he would be persecuted by MS13's rival gang, Barrio 18. Number eight, Jennifer Vasquez, Garcia's wife, petitioned for an order of protection against him. She claimed he punched her, scratched her, and ripped off her shirt and bruised her while she was carrying the brand new Bambino. All right. So we got documentation. This is from PG County, Maryland, where he was living at the time. Okay. It's all right here. Bottom line, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a violent, criminal, illegal alien, and MS13 gang member. He belongs behind bars and off American soil. There it is. Let's keep going here. Now, this is Chris Van Hollen going down to El Salvador to try and retrieve this fine, upstanding gentleman. Okay. And again, this will be in the box. Everything will be in the box, but check it out.
Meetings here in El Salvador with our team from the American Embassy, with the Vice President of El Salvador, with human rights groups. And the entire purpose has been to bring Abrego Garcia home. Because
what do you mean bring him home? He is home. He's an El Salvador citizen, and he is currently in El Salvador. He is not a U.S. citizen, so he is at home right now.
Because U.S. courts have determined that he was illegally abducted from the United States and now finds himself in the most notorious prison in El Salvador.
He was deported because he's here illegally and he's a gang member. He was deported. That's not called abduction. It's called deportation.
The Supreme Court, 9-0, has told the Trump administration they must facilitate his return home.
Now, there's more, but I'll pause it right there. What does the word facilitate mean? Facilitate, I looked it up. It means to make something easier. In this case, what does that mean? It means if they're able to get him back, they got to make it easy. Okay, pay for the plane ticket, pay for the cab ride from the penitentiary to the airport, facilitate it. It does not mean go in there to the prison, guns blazing, and do a prison break. It does not mean that. You can request that he be returned, quote unquote, returned or released. But what if the government of El Salvador says no? What are you going to do at that point? Let's keep going. All right, there's more. There's a lot we got to get to. And you see what it says right here. U.S. Supreme Court tells Trump administration to facilitate return of Salvadoran man deported in quote unquote error. Again, there goes that word, facilitate. I just want to show you that to let you know that I have documentation. I got articles about that as well. Now, this is the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, and you can see what he says right here. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, miraculously risen from the death camps and torture, now sipping margaritas with Senator Van Hollen and tropical paradise of El Salvador. Okay, so that's Van Hollen right there. That is the gang member. Why is he wearing a baseball cap? Is it to cover his gang tattoos on his forehead and skull? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. All right. Now, there he is again. Look at this. Gazing. Is it their first date? I mean, you want to go in for a kiss? What's going on here, bro? And there he is again. We got margaritas. Imagine a sitting U.S. senator having drinks with a gang member. Like, what kind of optics is this? I don't understand. It's really strange. It's really, really strange. Here is another tweet from Nayib Bukele. Again, this is the president of El Salvador. He says, now that he's been confirmed healthy, he gets the honor of staying in El Salvador's custody. So the mission to go down there to try and retrieve, quote unquote, retrieve this man failed. You can have drinks and gaze in his eyes and all kind of stuff, but guess what? He's going to go right back to the penitentiary to continue to make big rocks into little rocks. Simple as that. Okay, and I don't feel any kind of way bad for him. Now, here's what the White House posted. We are not the same. Okay, here's Trump consoling the mother of a young lady whose life was taken by an illegal alien in Maryland, where Chris Van Hollen is a senator back in 2023. He's consoling her. But what does the Maryland senator do? All in his face, gazing in his eyes. The optics are ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. Let's keep going here. Now, this is the woman you just saw, Patty Morin. Let's hear from her about what she had to go through with an illegal alien taking the life of her daughter back in 2023. Check it out.
And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledged my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And rest in peace to Miss Morin's daughter. Prayers out to their family. Absolute tragedy. Totally preventable, if not for the at least 20 million illegal aliens who flooded into our country during the Biden administration. All right, let's keep going here. Now, this is going to be a news report from ABC about the whole situation. Check it out.
Overnight, that remarkable image, Kilmar Abrego Garcia seated across from Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen. The first images of the wrongfully deported Maryland man since we last saw him, head shaved and shackled, held in that notorious prison in El Salvador. Van Hollen traveling to El Salvador this week, demanding to meet with Abrego Garcia, as the Trump administration argues they have no intention of bringing him home.
I asked that, in the interests of mercy, at least allow his wife or his mother or his lawyer to contact him in prison to check on his well-being.
Van Hollen,
I mean, he all right. We just saw him. He ain't missing no meals. He's not missing no meals. Y'all drinking margaritas, having a good old time. He's all right.
Hollen then posting tonight, "I had that chance," saying he called Abrego Garcia's wife, Jennifer, to pass along his message of love. But their meeting, a brief reprieve. El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele posting, now that he's been confirmed healthy, he gets the honor of staying in El Salvador's custody. The White House insists that Abrego Garcia, who has no criminal convictions, is a violent gang member, deporting him to El Salvador despite a 2019 court order that he not be sent back to his native country because he might face danger there.
He might face danger there. He might face retribution from other gangs because he's a gang member.
A mistake the administration previously acknowledged. A federal appeals panel yesterday ripping into the administration, writing the government is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process.
Residents of this country, that does not mean that he's a citizen. You see how they play with words?
That is the foundation of our constitutional order. In a unanimous ruling, the Supreme Court ordered the administration to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release. But the president, who is paying El Salvador $6 million to keep him and others, says it's up to that country to send him back. Pressed on whether he'll take action to force Abrego Garcia's return, the president punting.
I'm going to respond by saying you'll have to speak to the lawyers, the DOJ. I've heard many things about him, and we'll have to find out what the truth is.
The judge is saying that whether or not Abrego Garcia is a gang member is not the issue at hand.
All right, so that don't matter, huh? Okay, that's fine.
The government asserts that he is a terrorist and a member of MS13, they write. Perhaps, but perhaps not. Regardless, he is still entitled to due process.
So he's a gang member, MS13 gang member, here illegally from El Salvador. But it's not really a big deal, man. Come on back to Maryland, where you were here illegally to begin with. And once you come back, we're going to send you right back to where you at anyway. Now, look, as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele. Shout out to President Trump. Shout out to everyone that has a little bit of common sense. Listen, even if you were to release this gang member from El Salvador and return him back to the USA as an illegal alien, he's going to get deported right back to where he's at. So what's the purpose in doing this? This is a political game because they're trying to say that Trump is disappearing people, making mistakes, trying to send Americans. They're saying all these things just to try and chop down at the administration. It's a political game. It's a political football. That's all that it is. They don't really care about this guy. They couldn't care less. If he could not be used to their advantage, then they would not say anything about him at all. And that's a fact. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about Kilmar Abrego Garcia? Should we bring him back? Should we not bring him, quote unquote, back? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. If you think we should retrieve him from El Salvador, how are we going to do that when the president said no? We're going to invade El Salvador over a gang member who was here illegally, who was committing crimes allegedly while he was here? Make that make sense. Make it make sense. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.